Hello everybody, welcome back to some more Hearthstone here on the channel. We were able to get a couple of pretty good wins last time with a more rush heavy focused deck, just buffing up the minions as opposed to using the Quartermaster. So this deck has a couple of different ways it can be pretty effective. Hopping in against a Shaman here. And we get a pretty nice start. I might just keep all three of these. Leper Gnome on turn 1, hope for something on turn 2, keep the Murloc Knight because it can be so valuable. Worst case scenario, we have to put a 1/1 on the board on turn 2, which could be worse, especially since we're going to get a minion out on turn 1. He does have the coin, so we could put something out to counter the Leper Gnome, or he could use an Earthshock to kill it, which isn't the worst thing he could do. I mean, getting rid of one of his Earthshocks pretty early on is very nice for us. Put out a shielded minibot here, which is another really sticky minion. He's going to use a coin to bring something out here. It's going to be the Tuskar Totemic. Gives him a Taunt Totem. I think I'm going to put out an Anoyatron here, kill off the Taunt Totem. Put up a couple of pretty sticky minions on the board to face off against his Totemic that he coined out. Then next turn, hopefully have a good board to use the Knight on, preferably with a taunt on it. He's gonna kill the taunt off, but we can still clear off the board for the Murloc Knight. And unless he totemed into a taunt totem, which he did not. There we go, kill that off using the Divine Shield, put out the Knight on the board, and hopefully he doesn't have anything to counter it. Thanks to the fact that he used one of his Earthshocks and his Rockbiter already. Sinjin Shieldmaster, and he does not. Which is very good for us. Can bring a Murloc out here. And it's not the best thing we could have gotten, but it does buff him up. Use the Blessing of Might just to get that off the board. And keep the Murloc Knight alive, deal 4 damage to him, and have a board full of pretty small minions once again. But we do have the renewability from the Murloc Knight that we can hopefully keep. Earthshock's gonna do 2 damage and silence it, unfortunately. We still have a pretty decent board out despite having not the best hand right now. Hammer of Wrath can kill off that Manatide Totem, keep him from drawing any more, and we have a pretty good board. Or we could just kill it off and use a Lord of the Arena, which is probably the better option here. Deal 5 damage to him, leave the Spell Power Totem on the board, even though we probably should get rid of it. Gonna risk it here, and it is gonna come back to bite us, deal 2 damage to all enemies. Kills off everything but the Lord of the Arena with 1 health left. And he summons one that will probably kill it next turn. But I'm going to use this and give him a Divine Shield. Could have given the Divine Shield to the Questing Adventurer, but I'm hoping that he can stay alive another turn. If not, we still have some pretty good damage to him next turn with the Hammer of Wrath and the Adventurer if he doesn't kill it off. Sinjin Shieldmaster is going to be pretty tough to deal with, but we still have the Lord of the Arena, which we actually can kill him on this turn if we want to, and we definitely do. So we're going to get our 3rd victory in a row on the Paladin, actually the 5th victory on the series. I did have one game which I didn't record, which I tried it out, which didn't go so well, where we got rushed down by a rogue. But we hop up to rank 18, so far the Paladin deck is doing very good for us. And we're gonna hop back into another one here, so doing pretty nicely. Hope to keep a win streak going, maybe hop up another rank if we can, get up to rank 17. But there is always the chance that we run into one of the Rush Rogue decks, which seemingly always wins at the moment, so bit cautious here. It's against another Druid though. So far I've had pretty decent luck against Druids. Get rid of the Lord of the Arena. Might keep the Blessing of Kings just because it's been so good for us pretty early on. We can coin it out if we do have board control. Seal of Champions is pretty good. So other than Force Tank Max, we got a couple of buffs which puts us in a pretty good position to potentially just rush down the opponent. Depending on what this guy has in his hands, if he is a ramp druid, we might be in a pretty good position here. If we can bring him down quick enough, buff our minions up to be pretty good for us. Depending on what he can play, and the start is very important. He's going to take a bit of time to make his first move. And fire that off. So we're probably going to just play the Leper Gnome on this turn. Nothing we can really coin into unless we wanted to coin into the hero power, which is not very good at all. And we do have, depending on what we draw, we could have another option. Looks like he does have something to play, and it's Living Root. Deal 2 damage or summon 2 1/1 saplings. Could be worse. I mean, with the Leper Gnome, we would alternatively like to keep him alive quite a bit longer, but Living Roots isn't really anything that's very threatening to us. I'd rather have a Living Roots on the board than anything else. And he's going to use his hero power to kill off the Leper Gnome anyway. He deals 3 damage to him. He's got a couple of 1/1s on the board, which usually wouldn't be too frightening, but we don't have anything to play next turn ourselves, so it could be some trouble. Do get a Murloc Knight and just hero power here. It's going to be turn 3. We could Blessing of Kings onto the Silver Hand or Crude if we wanted to, but that would probably not be the best move, and it's probably going to kill with his hero power anyway. And he does, so he's just keeping board control, not really doing anything yet, which means he probably is a ramp druid. He doesn't have anything to kill off the Murloc Knight, so I'm going to put it out. Might just Blessing of Kings on it next turn to make it harder to kill as opposed to actually using it. Alternatively, we do have a taunt we could put out along with the hero power to give us a Murloc, a taunt, and a 1/1. That 3/3 is not going to be too big of a deal. He's not even going to attack it, which makes me just want to go Annoyatron and hero power as opposed to using the Blessing of Kings. And it's going to give us Old Murkai, so the taunt doesn't really do anything for him, and we have a 3/1 behind a taunt shield, so ends up being the best move to make anyway, despite being a pretty risky move in itself. We can actually give him the +3 in Divine Shield next turn as well, as doing the hero power and getting another Murloc, so long as he does not have a spell to use in order to kill this guy off. He's got the 2 1/1s on the board, but the biggest goal is just to get some pretty good board presence before he can potentially put anything really big down and really threatening, which he probably has in his hands going off of how he's played so far. So we could deal 9, 10 damage probably next turn if he goes after and kills the Annoyatron. Unless he has something on his board that we want to take out. And that is with another Murloc being spawned. Probably give him Divine Shield, and he does have a Sludge Belcher to put out, which is a bit annoying to us, but not really all too big of a threat. Shielded Minibot's always nice. Gonna go ahead and give him Divine Shield. Kill that off. Summon the Murloc. And what do we get? Another Murloc Knight, so that is very good for us. Go ahead and kill that. Don't want to get rid of Old Murkai. Keeps the taunt alive with 1 health. And gives us a pair of Murloc Knights, which are going to be very useful in just continually repopulating with Murlocs, keep them getting buffed up and try to keep them alive. And we are looking pretty good here, even if he does put out an Ancient or something. And we will see what he has in his hand. Best case scenario, he doesn't have anything really to clear the board. Worst case scenario, he has a swipe probably, kills off all but one of the Murloc Knights, and can probably kill it off with something else. But I think you would have played it already if you did have the swipe. He's got an Emperor Thorazane, which not too big of a threat. We could use our 1/1 as well as Old Murkai to kill it off and still get some pretty good minions on the board. I'm gonna go ahead and give a Blessing of Kings to the Murloc Knight. And do we have lethal? We do not, I don't think. Still, we're gonna get a couple of Murlocs here, which we might actually have lethal afterwards, and we do, so I'm just gonna go for base. Thanks to the Oracle and the buff from Old Murkai, we do get the win here. It's a pretty good win, so we've actually gotten a couple of different wins. We've got the rush from buffing up our early minions, we've gotten the Murloc Knight rush. We'll hop into another one, and we also, in the first episode, had a couple of Quartermaster wins. Hoping to get another pretty good game and just hop into rank 17 and keep progressing through this pretty nicely on this Paladin deck. And we're going to go against a Hunter here. Again, we've had pretty good success against the Hunters. A Muster for Battle and a Consecration. Go ahead and keep those two. Get rid of the Consecration and get a Sneed, which would have rather had the Consecration early on anyway, but could be worse. We get a Blessing of Wisdom, which could be pretty good for us. He does have the coin, so he could bring something out, and we could use a Blessing of Wisdom on it to just get card draw off of it. Unless he decides not to attack with it, which still would be a pretty good position for us. But he does not. He actually plays a Secret. Could be a Freezing Trap, could be a Flaming Trap. I think the 1/1 is probably the best way to probe the trap without really having too much of a risk here. Assuming he doesn't have anything to kill it, even if he does use a spell on it, it'd be pretty good for us anyway. Knife Juggler. Not something that I want out, but it's not the worst thing that could be out anyway. Hit him in the face, hopefully trigger the trap, and we do. It's a bear trap, so it didn't exactly work as we wanted it. Go ahead and put out the Leper Gnome here and another 1/1 just to give it a target-rich environment for the Blade Master or the Knife Juggler. We have the Blessing of Might. We could clear off the board or the bear if we wanted to. Turn 4, we have some pretty good options. He's actually gonna use his Knife Juggler to kill off one of the 1/1s. And use a Glaive Zuka. Gives the bear 4 attack. Is he going to attack one of our minions? Or yes, he is. Means we can kill him off with our 1/1 if he doesn't use his weapon to kill it off. But he does. We have an empty board here, 4 mana. We could use a Muster for Battle if we really wanted to. One more turn and we can get the Gurubashi Berserker. I think the best thing we can do is Muster for Battle and use our weapon to kill off the bear. And get a few 1/1s on the board. Hopefully he trades his Knife Juggler into it and doesn't have a bunch of minions just to kill it off with the throwing knives. He gets a King's Elec, which is going to be a problem because he does end up winning that. Not the best thing for us. Does use that, and he will trade his Knife Juggler, which isn't too bad for us. Get out the Berserker next turn. We're in a pretty good position. He's only got a 3/2 on the board. We can give the Berserker Blessing of Might if we want to. Or probably more likely give it the taunt in front of it. Bring him down to 24 health. Kill off the King's Elec next turn and put a taunt out is probably the best course of action unless there is a high health, low attack minion he does put out, in which case we'll probably use the Blessing of Might on. Hunter's Mark is a bit of a problem, but it could be worse. I'm going to have the Lord of the Arena out. He's used one of his Hunter's Mark. He's got a Houndmaster though, which is going to be a little bit of a pain for us. Kills off the Berserker with that and gets a couple of decent minions on the board. Could just put out an Annoyatron and then buff it up next turn, or else we could actually do the Lord of the Arena. I think I'm actually going to do the Annoyatron, however. Use that, and then we can't kill him off despite having that, so I'm going to give this the Blessing of Wisdom and save our weapon. I'm not going to waste it on taking 5 damage from the Alec. Then we just put a taunt up to deflect anyway. I'd rather just get the Houndmaster. Draw secrets, draw a card, so he's going to draw a card off of that. There we go, we get a card from that. It's another Annoyatron. And he's going to probably hit it with his King's Elec to kill it off. If we put out another Annoyatron, it'll be pretty nice for us. Alternatively, could Arcane Shot, use a weapon, and he uses a multi-shot there. And he's still got his King's Elec up, which isn't the best for us. We have another Annoyatron though. And we have a Consecration, which is probably the best thing we could have drawn. Kill off all of his minions. And put out another Annoyatron, hit him for 1. Have that Blessing of Might still. We don't have the card draw from his Houndmaster anymore. We got a couple of pretty decent cards. We can give this guy +6 attack at most next turn. Or put out Sneed, which is probably the thing we're going to do. Does get the Rush 4, which is probably the worst thing to get against Annoyatron for him, as it just trades down into it. And he's still got 4 mana left for Paladin Shredder. Alright. It's a pretty good board to use Sneed on. He won't have his Death Rattle right off, but he'll be in a pretty good position to where even if he does have something to kill it off, we'll get that Legendary. We got a ton of buffs in our hand. We give +10 attack in 1 turn, or put out a big taunt on the board. Gets that high main down, not too big of a threat. We just really buff up Sneed and just go for face. With the trap, I don't think it's the best idea. He's going for face, so we probably just clear some of his minions off the board. High main's a bit scary for us. Could take the chance on Sneed, but I think we're just going to put the taunt out. Attack him in the face, see what trap it is. It is a freezing trap, so it's going to be a bit of a pain. 10 mana Sneed, but give this guy Divine Shield and +3 attack to make it to where it's harder to kill him off. It's probably a bad play anyway because he can trade both his minions into it, but makes him trade both of his minions, which still summons stuff for him, but we're in a pretty good position here. Power Shot, deal 2 damage, so he's only going to have to attack it with the Savannah High Main, summon 2 minions, or just kill shot it. Kill command. And now we're in some trouble here. Unless we can get out another Lord of the Arena, but bringing us down to 1 health with a hero power that does 2 damage is not the best thing for us. So we are kind of backed into a corner. I don't think we have anything that could save us here. I don't think we have any lay on hands in the deck. But all the same, it was a pretty close match most of the way through, and we don't have anything to save ourselves, so we're going to go ahead and concede, save some time. All in all, however, it was a pretty good run so far, and thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all next time. And y'all have a nice day.